Hey, hey, hey! It's the first ever real estate marathon. I'm your host, Jas Takhar. All right. I want to talk to you guys before we start this event and bring in the first speaker. Simos had mentioned a little bit earlier about the COVID time. The lockdown probably happened here in Toronto, specifically around March 18th. And that's when a lot of the noise around what was happening in the real estate market started to happen. What I decided to do at that time is I realized I needed to use the tools that I had in my toolbox. And one of the biggest tools that I've always been able to have in this toolbox was the ability to shut out the noise. See, shutting out the noise is very important because the reason we dubbed this the real estate marathon is because, yes, I mean, it's a cool name. There's amazing branding behind us. The logos are great. It's actually because real estate is a marathon. See, we're going to be speaking about how to make money. Really, we're going to be speaking a lot about how to create wealth. But wealth creation, and this is coming from a gentleman who has 15 years of experience and thousands of investors that we've seen make a lot of money and create wealth, but we've seen a lot of mistakes that they made. But that wealth creation happens over time. You need to have patience. You also need to implement with speed at times. Now, investing into opportunities, purchasing real estate, you do need to tie up property quickly. That doesn't mean you do it stupidly. And so you need to have that macro patience to create wealth. But along the way, like a real marathon, obstacles are going to come along the way, i.e. you might cramp up. Those arches might start hurting. You might have worn the wrong shoes. The weather might come in your way. You might be dehydrated. Just like in life that happens, just like in the marathon, running a race that happens, in life that happens as well. For me, most of the time, the way that happens is from external noise. For example, when COVID hit and we got hit with the lockdown, there was a lot of negative news. So if I can implore you today to go on a news diet, you might want to consider it. Why? Because when was the last time you got anything done with a negative mindset? See, if you put garbage in at all times, you will get garbage out. So I want you to start surrounding yourself with positivity, positive people, positive vibrations, and positive information. So one of the main things that we were able to do during that lockdown was to go on that news diet. We set up one of these virtual Zoom meetings. Our core staff of about 10 people, we made sure we were on a Zoom call from 8:30 in the morning till about 6:30 in the evening. I did it personally because I knew that I needed to make sure I was very close with my team members. What that allowed us to do was we helped buyers, sellers, and investors in the tune of a little over $64 million of real estate. You heard that right. It was a little over $64 million of real estate that we were able to help our buyers, sellers, and investors with. Why? Because we focused on service. We focused on positivity. We made sure that we led with education. And we immersed ourselves with positive vibrations. See, if you were going to learn a new language, and not to throw a stone at Rosetta's program, but you want to get to if you want to learn a new language, go to that country, immerse yourself. You have that ability today. You're going to hear a little over 18 to 20 speakers come on today. As I mentioned earlier with Simos and Laura, these are the top guys and gals in the industry. You're going to be able to learn from them, but then you have the opportunity to actually take action. And as you take action in this specific opportunity later on in the afternoon, or later on first thing in the morning, kind of later on in the afternoon, you're going to be able to tie up a deal and then do the due diligence. In fact, the way that we've set up this marathon, we're actually going to be trying to tell a macro story, speaking about high-level macro market, going right down to the micro of somebody who's taken action in investing in real estate. See, as my first door that I ever knocked on when I was 12 years old and through a paper route, I remember being told no so many times. throughout me growing up in my teenage years, I was always told that I wasn't going to be able to really accomplish much because I didn't learn in the setting of school. So I didn't have that formal education. But what I needed to do is make sure that I got some type of education from somewhere. So going back to immersing yourself, what I decided to do was to read a lot of books, listen to audiobooks, as well as go to seminars and workshops and have mentors. Everyone that's going to be coming on today, you have the ability to get in touch with them. Again, shoot us an email. We'll make an introduction to info@reccanada.com. They can become your mentor. Sometimes you don't need like an actual live mentor. Sometimes it's just by getting in touch with them through an email, watching some of their videos, signing up for maybe one of their courses, learning. See, we can learn a lot more together as we start to immerse ourselves and learn. But what I really want to get across to you right now is having patience. Real estate, there's ways that you can make money quickly, but to create real wealth, it takes time. See, it's not about timing the market in real estate. It's actually putting time in the market. As in the greater Toronto area, what we see a lot, and for the last 100 years now, so it's a big sample size, for the last 100 years, every 10 years, prices have doubled. So if you thought to just buy something and flip it, yeah, you can maybe make some quick cash that way, but there's a lot of legwork. And we're going to be speaking about certain strategies where you could do that. But the real wealth is made over the long term, holding on to it. It's why we're bringing on someone like Callum Ross, who's the head, like the top of his game when it comes to financing. We're going to be speaking about strategies where you can actually refinance. Guys, I implore you once again, make sure to hashtag REC Marathon, because as you guys can start to communicate with each other and build a community with each other, you're going to speed up the process. As I mentioned, you need to have patience and you need to wait. However, you could speed up the process by doing this with others that are actually taking action now. I want you to play big today. You're a marathoner. The first ever, you're part of history today. It's the first ever real estate marathon. From what I know, we didn't charge anybody for this education today, for this marathon. I want you to take full advantage of it. Get in touch with us, get in touch with the speakers. We want to make sure that we actually get you in touch with our service providers, with the speakers today. As I was in high school, I was told again so many times that I wasn't able to accomplish stuff. See, one of the main reasons why I was able to get through it was because I had mentors, was because I was able to immerse myself. And what that taught me when I was going through the COVID time, because I had that in my toolbox now, when COVID came around, everyone around me told me once again that our business will probably get shut down. We're going to lose people. I'm proud to say that REC Canada, we didn't let go of anyone during COVID. Why? Because what we did is we stuck together. And again, we stayed with positive vibrations, understanding that if we were not only positive, but optimistic about the future, we would be able to get through this. Not only did we survive through COVID with that mentality and that mindset, but we thrived during the COVID time. We were able to do a little over $64 million in real estate, where majority of the majority of people in the business were some were closing down. So I know you might be watching this and listening to this right now and saying, well, what does this have to do with real estate? See, real estate is one of the best and safest investments, but there's one better investment than real estate. It's the investment in yourself. And so I want to thank you. And I want to, again, congratulate you, give you the biggest kudos that I possibly can when I say that you took action to be part of this marathon today. Not only have you been part of this marathon and been part of our lives for a very long time, but you actually are going to stick through the 12 hours. You're going to be rewarded a lot more than just your real estate investments, you're investing in the mind. How could you do, what other things can you do? There's lots of books behind us here. Well, the set of books is our book. If you want a copy of it, there's no cost for it. Go to info@reccanada.com right now and send our team a message that you want a copy of our book. Just put your mailing address in there and we'll get you a copy. On the other side is some of my favorite books that I've read. I want to go over a couple of the books because one of the books is The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. There's 64 principles in that book that will allow you to speed up the process. There's Anthony Robbins, which is one of the best, and big shout out to Mr. Tony Robbins. Actually, one of the idea of this virtual arena actually came from what he was able to accomplish during COVID. He had a stadium set up, a virtual stadium. And so that's one of the ideas that came from there as well. Yes, I see messages coming in that you'd love a copy. Please send an email to info@reccanada.com and we'll send over a copy over, we'll mail out a copy of the book to you. I also, after reading the books, I started to get really busy in my life. So I had to find a different hack, a different way to get the knowledge in. And so I speak a lot about, a lot of you are night cappers, a lot of you watch all the content that we produce. We produce approximately 20 pieces of content daily on all the platforms. You hear me speak a lot about net, no extra time. Try to find ways that you can get more done while you're doing something else. Like probably now, you might be cooking and listening to this. You might have the YouTube channel on or the video on, but you might be listening. So what I started to do is, because I had an hour drive in to the office and then an hour drive back home, I started to take my books into audio. And so something that you can do, a subscription to Audible right now is I think about $10 a month. That's the type of investment I'm speaking about when it comes to investing in yourself. Real estate will definitely help you create wealth. It's a fantastic vehicle, but investing into yourself will change your life. You're going to hear about an opportunity that's going to be fantastic today, but none of that matters unless your mindset is right. So you got to spend most of your time in the what and the why. I think a lot of us think about, how am I going to start a business? How am I going to invest? How am I going to change my life? See, the how will always appear. It's around us. It's the what and why that I want you to clarify and get very, very clear about. What are you looking into accomplishing? And why do you want it? Because like in a real marathon, shit's going to happen. Things are going to come up. That why is what's going to keep you going. In real estate, you might get to 5 doors, 8 doors, and have a tough time getting financing. But you're going to hear from guys and gals today that have over hundreds. A couple of them have close to 1,000 doors. So they did it. But it's the why that's going to keep you going. And so I want you to start to focus on the what and the why. The how will always appear. When I told people I'm going to do a 12-hour real estate marathon webinar, they thought I was on crack. They're like, what are you doing? Why would you even think about doing this? You're not going to be able to get it done. The technology and all. I never spoke or thought about the how in 1 second. Why? For 1 second. Why? Because I know the how would appear. Simos, Laura, Clem, Keegan, Steven, Tyler, the whole team figured out the how. See, we spend a lot of time looking for opportunity. Opportunities everywhere. You just need to get in front of it. And that might be starting out with a book. It might be starting out with a marathon. But the how, I promise you, will always appear. The right people, the timing will all come together. But you have to have the patience for that. And as you have the patience, you also need to implement with some speed daily. Sitting back and just relaxing. Look, one of my favorite books / movies is The Secret. I think we've all heard of it, The Secret, the Law of Attraction. But the main part, in my opinion, and I'm going to be having one of the main speakers on writers and speakers of that book, Mr. Bob Proctor, on the podcast coming up next week. And so please look out for that. But I think one of the biggest problems in that book and that movie was that you can just sit back on your couch and just think about what you want. You need to take some type of action. You have to actually get up and actually do something. I want to make sure that you get in touch with us and get in touch with our team. I love each and every one of you. I know I haven't met all of you. I love you because you took the time to be part of history with us, to be part of our family here at REC Canada. And for that is why I say I love you, and I'm so grateful and blessed. We're gonna start with someone that has thought very big. I want you to think big today and every other day. Why? Because the brain, it doesn't take like if you want to make $1 million or $10 million, the brain doesn't really know the difference. So I want you to think big. And we're going to start with somebody today, our first speaker, who has created significant generational wealth over the last 50 years. His family has been involved in the real estate industry, in investing in real estate. He's the broker owner of Royal LePage Signature. He manages over and runs an organization over 1,200 realtors. Why is that important to know? Well, he's a businessman. He's thought about patience. He implements with speed. It's not what we're going to be speaking about today. We're going to be speaking about how he created generational wealth using my favorite strategy, REC Canada's favorite strategy, which is buy and hold. Why? Because the amount of times we hear people say, I wish I had. Hence why our REC Canada's slogan is, I'm glad I did. That's what we're gonna make you do, say more often. Because I think we'd be billionaires if we heard, if we got a penny for every time we heard somebody say, I wish I had. We want you to say, I'm glad I did.